What if I told you telling one story, your story, could completely change your life? Today we're sitting down with master storyteller Cory Williams, creator of Silly Crocodile and the first ever professional YouTuber, to unpack how storytelling isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. From billions of views to Burnout and back again, Cory shares how telling his story shaped his entire identity. By the end of this episode, you'll learn how to turn yourself into the main character of your story, discover the real process behind building engaging, emotional stories, and most importantly, how to tell your story in a way that actually moves people. My name is Mo, and you're watching The Mo Method, where we talk to professionals who have turned their passions into professions. Thanks for subscribing. Now let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Cory Williams, a virtual storyteller and the creator of Silly Crocodile.
Okay, so there's a lot I want to cover, and I kind of want to I'm going to jump ahead to the end of the story. Instead of, I usually kind of start from the beginning, but I'm really fascinated by what you've done with Silly Crocodile specifically. I've seen you around on LinkedIn a lot, talking about it quite a bit. I've checked it out. It's really, really impressive, first of all, and very cool. Can you talk about, first of all, what is Silly Crocodile and how it came to be? Let's just start there.
So Silly Crocodile is a character. It's a 2.5D character in a 3D world. Doesn't quite understand where he belongs in the space, but he is very happy and very fun, very friendly, and is just really eager to explore and learn as much as he can. And who he really is, though, is he's actually the child version of me. Growing up, I have ADHD. I struggled with a lot of different things, and over time creating with Silly Crocodile, telling stories, I started to discover this. And so now that I've, given him this life and something that I can relate to and made him real in a sense, he is me. And the narrator in the show is the one who talks to him. It's the adult voice. It's this same voice you're hearing now. It's the adult version of myself speaking back to my child self to try to help my child self understand the world in ways that he couldn't before. And then my child self, Silly Crocodile, is reminding me to stay open to new ideas and stay excited for learning and for new adventures.
That's awesome. So just to kind of get into the technicals of it a bit. So from what I've gathered and what I understand just from following you and seeing, you kind of talk about it. So it's real-time animated. Mm-hmm. You're doing it all single-handedly. It's all, you got to talk about the process, how you make it work. I saw one of your posts, you talk about how all the actual movement is done with a game controller, and you use your phone for the mouth movement. What's the process of, and how did you build it also?
Yeah, so I honestly, I don't have a background in 3D. I just jumped into this space. 2020 was the first time I ever touched Unreal Engine. And I kind of dabbled a little bit in 3D and animation in 2019, late 2019, because I loved VR. I love video games. I'm a huge video game nerd. And I thought, well, what if I could use VR to be able to move characters around and just hide the hands, right? And actually just screen record. So I created inside of Unity initially. I had created this virtual set where I could hold a camera with one hand and then hold the crocodile with the other. So what I would do, this is the original Silly Crocodile, I would actually hold it in VR. So imagine I'm holding it in VR, and then I'd have another camera here, and I'd just walk him around like that, and he'd go, eh, 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 eh. And so the reason that he walks like this even today is because of that. It's a nod to the past, and I wanted it to be something simple, but also I didn't know a whole lot about 3D, and so simple is the most important thing. Get it done, reach a finish.
Yeah.
Over time I got into Unreal Engine, of course, 2020, and I was like, well, what else could I do with this? I can't just have him smiling the whole time, because life is not this perfect. Life is not this happy all the time. He needs emotions. He needs to have a contrast to this brightness in his life. And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to give him any sort of face shapes and he's a 2.5D character, how in the world am I going to make his mouth move? Because I'm not that guy. So then instead of making his mouth move, I said, well, why don't I just hide and unhide different faces based on my own expressions using my iPhone? Because Unreal Engine is really great. They have what's called Apple ARKit. You can connect your iPhone to Unreal Engine, and it can track the faces. In fact, right now, I'm just tracking myself. But you can see here, I have all these. Well, you can't see it very well, but it shows my face and the values and all of that. It's wish I could just show you that. But anyway, just simply taking those values, I say, if my jaw is open, if your jaw is closed, it's at value 0. If your jaw is open, it's at value 1. And any bit of open or closeness between those is a decimal point, right? So I say, if it's more than 0.25% open, do this face. And if it's any less, do a lesser open face. But that's it. I mean, it was simple. So I think there's only like 6 face shapes that Silly Crocodile has. And that's it. So it's just like switching between face shapes. And then the eyes are moved around with this game controller. I mean, it's just a standard, you can get it at, Best Buy or Amazon, whatever, and just walk around with the character as a third person project. But I mean, it sounds, well, it might sound technically hard to some people who don't know Unreal Engine, but realistically, it's very easy. And I give this project away for free to people on my LinkedIn. So like on my profile, you can go there and then download a project where you can do this too and just apply it to anything. So it's like just showing people, it's like you don't have to, go totally overboard to create something great. What matters the most is reaching a finish and telling a great story along the way.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. I mean, it's nothing super crazy.
Yeah. So what is your background? So, because obviously you'll come from no background. You say it's not 3D, but you like clearly you do have experience in the kind of world of entertainment, design, whatever. So what is your background? How did you get into it in the first place?
Yeah. So so I'm the first professional YouTuber. What that means, I'm the first YouTuber to make videos for a living, first person to be sponsored and paid by YouTube to create videos. And through all of these years of content creation since 2005, I found a lot of ways to be kind of hacky, to be able to do things that looked really great on the lowest budget possible. So this is the way my brain has been for a very, very long time, is being able to, reach higher levels of success with lower amounts of time. And I think that's really the key to my success and all of the things that I'm doing now, and still staying true to the storytelling that I love to do, and staying true to who I am and my own interests and all of that.
So you're saying you're the first, professional YouTuber. So how'd that come to be?
So funny story. Long time ago, I was big on MySpace at that time. Before YouTube, I was big on MySpace. Before that, I was big on Newgrounds, all this stuff. But anyway, I had this idea to basically to get myself out there, to get my music out there. I was doing this music tour at the time as well, because I'm a music artist, and I was like, what if I to get attention from the world, I put myself on eBay. So my friends and I did this crazy thing. We put ourselves on eBay to see if anybody would bid on getting tattoos on us. So some of my other friends, they did tattoos on their forearms, like actual tattoos. And I did a henna tattoo across my forehead. Henna is just a temporary thing. Well, of course, Golden Palace Casino, who at the time was an online casino, they purchased it because they were buying all sorts of weird stuff. And we knew what we were doing. We were targeting them. We wanted them to pick us up because it was getting attention that somebody was putting their forehead and their arms online. The forehead got a lot more exposure, I think. But when they bought my forehead, they're like, hey, that was crazy, and it was genius that you did what you did, but we see what you're trying to do online, and we think it's stupid that you're going to put a henna tattoo on your forehead, even for a temporary time. They're like, instead, what we want you to do is wear our shirts and just keep making those crazy videos that you do. And so that became the first corporate sponsorship right there. Wow. And so I was paid every month to, wear shirts and to do stuff. And they paid me well. It was like $5,000 a month at that point in time in my life, which, I'd never heard of. And it was really great. And then after time, YouTube started taking notice. So because I was close with the founders, I was close with all the employees there. They knew who I was. And I was a guinea pig for a lot of the early tests. But anyway, so they reached out and they said, Cory, we'd like you to be one of the first partners to be a part of the partnership program. And I think it was like 15 of us in the early days. This was 2006, just after Google had purchased YouTube.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and then I got in the partnership program. But rather than, they weren't giving me ad money, they were just saying, here's $3,000 every month. Just keep making videos. So then YouTube was just paying me. Like there was not really ads at the time. It was like we were guinea pigs. And so ever since, I mean, I've been a part of it, and yeah, here I am, still doing it.
So you've always been artistic. You've always been creating and always kind of exploring.
Oh, yeah. My life, I live and breathe creativity, and I live and breathe also to help others find their own creativity and find their own success. And so through my years of YouTube, it hasn't been just about me. Like I've always been a community builder. And so like I would host major YouTube events. I started the first YouTube gathering. Now there's like VidCon and Playlist. I was the first, and I created what was called As One back in the day. But no, I genuinely love to help all creative, all storytelling people to find new ways to be able to do things, because I feel like, for many, many years, it's been like you'd have to go through gatekeepers in order to even be able to tell a story to the masses. Yeah. And I've found a way to do it in a much bigger way. And so,
yeah. That's kind of like, for me personally, that's like kind of a mission I kind of put myself on, because to that point specifically, I think it's been already kind of a work in progress for a number of years, but like right now it's really kind of like picking up speed, where we're transitioning away from the traditional studios that you've always had to kind of go through, and to kind of direct to consumer, find your audience, sell direct to them. And I think what's happening is that you have a lot of kind of creatives, just to use that term very loosely, who have been so focused on their craft for so many years, right? That they're so specialized in whatever they do that they don't necessarily, they're not attuned to kind of the branding and marketing and YouTube kind of side of things. And it's unfortunate, because they're missing in this huge opportunity. And I've spoken to people here who have gone and built their own sort of thing, selling direct to consumer, and they're more successful doing it that way than they ever were working for studios. And some of them never even wanted to start working for studios, because that was never And it's to me it's a beautiful thing, because I've spoken to a lot of people who have told me the same thing, where let's say there's somebody who owns a studio, and they'll say, oh yeah, we just take on gigs so that we can go and fund the things that we want to be making. And it's like, it's unfortunate. Like you have to do these gigs that you don't want to do just to do the things you do want to do. When it's like, you could just kind of go and make the things you want to make, find people who want to see what you're making, and everyone's happy. So it's to me it's a beautiful kind of thing to see. And it's gotten easier, I think, than, in some ways easier, some ways harder, but that's a different discussion. But
the reason,
it's more accessible.
Yeah, the reason it has gotten a bit easier is that the path has been laid. Like there is a path that you can follow. There are people who have succeeded over long periods of time who love to share the information, to help other people grow, and that's really a great thing. When I started, nobody believed in me. Nobody. I had no support anywhere. Even my friends were kind of like, dude, okay, that's funny, but what are you doing? And people would think that I was throwing my life away back then, because you're making internet videos. It was kind of taboo, right? Right. 2005, 2004 even. But over time, as I started to build this audience, and I went viral a number of times in all these different ways, and I always found this new way of creativity. Like the more I shared, the more people got it. And the more people got it, the more they shared. So here we are today. And I think you were earlier talking about like how people are specialized in just one thing, and that's what they do, but it's hard for them to break out of it. The thing here is when you build a life habit, you are so good at one thing because that's all your habits allow you to do right now. Your habits. You are still great at all of those other things that you wish you could have and do. You are. It's just that your fear of breaking the habit is what's hard to do. And for some people, they have families. They've been, at this for so long. Now they have families. Now they've got a mortgage. Now they've got these things, and they're afraid that if they stop doing this thing that they're used to doing, that all the other things they love are going to fall apart. And while that might be true for a lot of people, it's not true for everyone. Because so long as you truly believe in what it is that you do, and you have that drive to do that one thing, you can find a way. You've just got to put in that work, and you've got to take the risk. You've got to take the chances, because at the end of the day, what happens? You're unhappy. with your life, doing this thing that you're like, okay, it's good enough, but well, good enough is good. That's let me not say that's bad. That's the good. If you feel like I just wish it was this. This is what I really wish I had. Are you really going to let somebody else dictate your creativity for the rest of your life until finally you retire? Oh, good, I'm retired. Now I can do what it is I want to do. But the ship has sailed because tech has moved on, because your brain has changed. The chemicals in your brain don't work quite the same. And those experiences that you wish you could have, you don't get to have because of whatever. But I mean, we still, even then, like say you are older and say you are retired, it's still not too late, you know? But again, it comes down to fear. And I feel like most people who have this like internal regret or worry, fear, and they're really great at this one thing, they're still in the grind. And that's why I say, like, when you're older, it's kind of different. You can do what it is that you want to do. But the people today, I just tell them, I'm like, man, you are great. Yeah. You just don't realize it because you're not in the habit of proving it to yourself.
Right. It's unfortunate that like people feel the need to wait to do the things they want to do. When it, you know, like it's more difficult to do it now, but it's also much more rewarding. As in, like, don't wait till at that point I'll do it. You know, it's like, no, do it now and make it work. You know, and it's not always easy, but it's much more rewarding and you know, fulfilling and all those, you know, kind of all the positive feelings that go along with it. I'm curious to ask you, because you had said that, you know, when you started out, you had no support. So was there ever a point that you felt like abandoning the path and kind of giving up on it? Or were you always so determined, like, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it work no matter what?
Well, I mean, I did shift. I did move, and I've always done that. There's, you know, I'm ADHD. It's what I do. If I'm excited by something, I'm going that way. And so I think that's really what happened. And did I give up on some things? Yes. If I gave up, it's because it wasn't fun anymore, because it didn't matter to me anymore. And whether it made me tons of money, which some projects made me a lot of money, and I just said, I'm done with this, or not, it mattered more that my soul, that my heart believed in it. Because that belief in understanding, like if you understand your why, like why you're creating something, if you get that deeper understanding and you stay true to that and you create based on that drive, then it's easy to continue even when no one else believes in you. Because you don't need other people to believe in who you are. You need to believe in who you are, and you need to have that. Because if you believe in yourself enough and you continue to have that drive and you continue to create based on that thing that's inside of you that's special, other people, it's not about, they may not look at your work and say, that's the greatest work I've ever seen. But you know what? They might look at you and say, that person right there, they are confident. They know what they want, and that is inspiring. And so I feel like all of these years through the success that I've had, there's a lot of people who followed my journey, and sure, maybe they didn't like the old cat videos that I made, or my old stunt work, or my old music, or all whatever. Maybe they liked a little bit of all of it, but they would follow me because they just saw the spark inside of me that I was not afraid to let it out. You know, that's my success. Am I the biggest YouTuber, even though I'm the first? No way. I mean, I was number 7 in the world at one point for most subscribed. That was great. But I mean, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme. And nobody even really cares that I'm the first professional YouTuber. I say it because it gives me cred, you know, but like, really, does it matter in the end? No, not a single bit. It matters to me, you know? And so, no, I mean, to keep myself motivated on anything, to move forward, I ask myself, why am I doing this? And is what I'm doing today serving that reason? Am I acting with intention, or acting because of what somebody else thinks I should want or need? Yeah. Am I doing it for money? Is money what I want right now? Is this the best way to get money if money is what I'm looking for? That's something else that a lot of people forget to ask themselves. Like, they're like, I want to get rich doing this thing. All right, well, you better have a good reason outside of just getting rich, unless money is what serves your life, which nobody dies going, oh man, I made the millions, I'm out. No, they say, I did it. Yeah. I want to look back on my life, and if it was a book, I'd want to read every page of it. Yeah. You know, I don't want to have any regrets, and that's what I hope people can find in themselves is that sense. That's life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very well said. So I'm curious, like, so you're saying that you have jumped around and you've experimented a lot and constantly trying new things. What are some, like, the most unusual places that you've kind of pulled inspiration from to try something different that maybe hadn't been done before, or just something out of the box?
Oh man, out of the box, man! I am the guy for out of the box.
That's the title of your book.
Yeah, no, there was a reason I drove a Jeep for a long time, and it was because I prefer to make my own path rather than follow everyone else's. That's kind of how it was. But no, I think for me, it's personal. I just get really excited to like innovate and pioneer and do things that I've never done before. I mean, I have so many firsts that are just dumb, really dumb, and I think that's just what excites me. Like, hey, here's a new way to tell a story, a new way to do a thing. I'm going to do it and see what happens. Sometimes it does really great things, and sometimes it just doesn't. Like a good example of one that didn't work, because I think talking about things that don't work is important, because there's no such thing as failure. There's learning opportunities, and this was a great learning opportunity. I had this one idea that was very out of the box. I opened up Unreal Engine, and there's a plugin called Cesium, and Cesium allows you to import the entire world, like all Google Maps, all 3D meshes into Unreal, and it's so cool. And I was like, man, could you imagine like put a monster in here and it walks around? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. What's something no one's ever done? I'm like, let's do something that physics would never allow. And I thought, wait, what if I made a ladder that was exactly right in terms of math and size and scale, that went all the way to the space station, assuming the space station could be in one spot. Realistically, the space station, if it was not going around our Earth, it would just follow the ground, because it is constantly being pulled back. It's just, it's in an orbit. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well, what if we do this? And so I built this project. It was really a simple project. And then I had a 3D version of myself, animated and stuff. And so I built this project, and then I was like, okay, now I've got it. What do I want to do with it? So I said, what if I made it real time to teach people about real time animation and how it can be interactive, and without me controlling it, let the audience control it. So what I did was I made it where the YouTube chat, if you were to pay a super chat, you could affect what is happening to my virtual character as it climbs to space in real time at real human speed. And it was a really cool thing. But ultimately, like, it didn't get any attention really. I mean, I think my max amount of viewers was like 500. It wasn't great in comparison, but what it was awesome. The testing process was awesome. The fact that I was able to pull it off and do that was awesome. So for me, it's like what is failure and what is success? Success is that I did it. Yeah. Failure is if I learn nothing. That's what real failure is. If you learn nothing. What did I learn from this that was so great? That was, technically to other people maybe a failure, is that it just didn't have the it factor for people to come and watch. It didn't have a why for others. It was just a why for myself, and that's fine. So, I mean, but where did that idea come from? Just ADHD, just thinking constantly, like, what if? Yeah. It's always a what if question.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you kind of balance that kind of like intuition and just kind of allowing yourself to kind of come up with things on the fly versus kind of sitting down and planning it out and thinking, okay, here's the plan, how I'm going to execute, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, to balance everything out, first of all, I'm married. That helps a lot. My wife tells me, yeah, Cory, I hear what you want to do right now, but you need to focus, because trust me, if I had every bit of what I want to do, I would be constantly creating all sorts of crazy stuff. And I've had a lot of ideas, man. No, the planning process is usually I go to sleep and I dream it. I'm a lucid dreamer. And so I tend to like think a lot, obsess about whatever it is I want to do. And I go to sleep and I dream about it, and I'll live that entire life or another day in there. And then when I come out, I know exactly what it is I'm going to do. And so I'll go and I'll do it. I'll just create it. Because it's a routine thing. I've allowed my brain to be able to do this sort of thing. So, the planning process is, I follow the 80-20 rule, which is basically I can get to 80% and 20% of the time and effort, and as long as I stick to that, I can always succeed pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting into some of like the technicals, I want to ask you both on like the Unreal side of things and the YouTube side of things. So let's start with YouTube. So if you kind of had to like break it down into a formula, there's like a million and one YouTube gurus out there, but for you and from what you've seen in your experience with working with YouTube, like, what are the kind of, what's the X factor, if you will, that kind of separates the successful YouTube channels from the non-successful YouTube channels?
Intention. Like understanding and obsessing about what it is that you truly want and who it is that you truly want to see it or consume it or to be shared with. Like that's when they say like niche down, that's what that really means. And I feel like that's kind of what's missed in most people's explanation of how success is truly made. A lot of people think it's keywords and it's a great thumbnail and a great video with great watch time. And yes, it is all the above. But the core is what everyone misses. It's why. That is the big thing. You ask yourself every single time, why am I doing this? And what does success mean to me? And is this something that can be repeatable if it succeeds? And sometimes it's not, and sometimes it is. It's just you have to go through that. But understanding your why helps you navigate more than anything, any guru can possibly tell you about SEO or any of that sort of stuff. Trust me, I know all of the tricks. I've been around for years. And if there was like one person that I would say to listen to for this stuff who's really great, there's Daryl Eves. He's got a really great book out, actually, and I agree with like 95% of the things that he says, but that's the only thing that he doesn't talk about is the truer intention of a creator, and also that's again, as somebody who's been doing this now for 20 years, this is my 20th year on YouTube, having intention and understanding why you're creating is what ultimately helps with your longevity. Like that's what it keeps you from burnout. It keeps you working all this time, and it keeps that up. Because like if you don't have that, and if you're just chasing something else that you don't believe in, you're going to crash. You're going to burn. You're never going to return.
Yeah, yeah. So what for you is your kind of why and your intention behind creating?
Mine is very deep. It actually comes a lot as I'm learning. I'm in my 40s now. I've learned that when I was a child, I was very lost as a child. I didn't come from the greatest place. I mean, I had happy moments in my childhood, don't get me wrong. But there was a lot of sadness, a lot of death, a lot of confusion, and abuse was in my life. And I just wasn't happy. But what did make me happy was my creativity, was my storytelling, was my imagination, being able to get outside. And so I just wanted more than anything to grow up. I didn't want to be a kid anymore. I wanted to grow up, and I wanted to find some way to not let the world feel the way that I felt. I wanted to help the world escape the hardship because all I knew was how I felt. That's how we all are. We only know life from our own perspective, from our own paradigms. And my paradigm was hurt and pain and all this stuff and being unwanted. And feeling very stupid because I have ADHD and nobody could really guide me. I had nobody to guide me. So anyway, long story short, enough of the violins there. When I got out, I said, okay, this is it. My purpose on this planet is to now not only make myself happy because I found joy that got me out of this. I maintained my happiness. I didn't lose it. I didn't go become something terrible. I want to give this to other people. And so now I've made it my life's mission to inspire others. So I have a tattoo on the back of my arm and it says, what it means is I live forever through the inspiration I give others throughout my lifetime. And that feeds my soul. That feeds my heart. That is my ultimate why. I do it because it makes me feel good, but I do it because it also means that the world doesn't have to suffer as much.
Yeah. A close friend and mentor of mine one time said that the most selfish thing you can do is be selfless, and it's true. Because it makes you feel good about doing it, but it's more than that. Is that like it really allows you to have kind of this outsized impact that is larger than anything you can do individually. If there's a great parable of there's a man is walking down the street and he sees a man planting a carob tree. And a carob tree takes a long time for it to grow to produce fruits. And the man says to him, like, why are you doing this? Like, you're an old man. You're never going to be able to eat the fruit from this tree. And he said, yeah, but, my kids and my grandkids, they'll kind of get to reap the benefits of it. And it's kind of like, it's this beautiful thing where, like, if you lead your life with that sort of mentality of, like, I can only do so much. I'm only an individual. But if I could have kind of ripple effects that are felt by 10, 20, 50, 100, etc. people, that is, even if you don't directly get to reap the benefits of it, but the fulfillment that you get out of that is it's not comparable to anything else.
That's right. Yep. It's all about that fulfillment. And it's like that. It feels in some ways, it's like this little bit of greed. I'm doing this because I want to feel good. But it's like, no, it's a great exchange. You know, everybody wins when you feel good and the world feels good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, it's just, that's another reason it's so important to really truly stay who you are too. Because it's like understanding who you are and what it is that fulfills you. You know, you get a lot more out of that. And there's a really great saying. It was on a tombstone of this old gunslinger in I think it was Arizona, and it says, "Be who you is, because if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't." Which I thought is so cool. It's just like you've got to be who you are, and because otherwise, like you're gonna die as a nobody. What is what is your uniqueness? You know. Right.
I
just love that saying.
No, it's so true, and it's like you can't bring anything with you, so you know you can only kind of leave that. You only leave behind what you leave behind, and the most that you can leave behind is an impact on others. You know, ultimately, that's really it's an amazing way. I really hearing you speak about, you know, like coming into this, you know, I've seen the Silly Crocodile and your work around that, and it's amazing to hear your kind of the attitude that you approach all this with as well. Like it's really, you know, refreshing and very inspiring as well.
Well, that's the intention. Like with Silly Crocodile, like it is a kids show. It's a show for children. But what I'm quickly learning is that adults are watching it too, and they're getting a lot more than they expected. Because again, Silly Crocodile was me as a child, and here I am as, you know, adult Cory. I've spoke to many people, I've met many people, and I've heard so many stories that like I feel like I've learned a lot mentally and emotionally. But being able to essentially have this therapy with my younger self. And to do it in front of the world, that's the beautiful thing. And so like all these lessons I've learned, it's fun to be able to know that like children are going to have these lessons in one way or another for their best learning moments of their lives. Like I hope that what I'm doing truly makes a difference in their lives. Because that's one thing that I feel like is missing on YouTube. A lot of people are just creating content to like excite the children, but me, I'm like, no. I want them to watch and be changed. Yeah. Like to have these tools. I wish I knew this stuff when I was little. Oh, things would have been so much easier. Heck, I wish I knew this stuff 10 years ago. Right. But yeah, it's important work, I think. Specifically
with Silly Crocodile, you kind of switched. It was kind of like non sequitur, and then you switched to kind of serialized content. Mm-hmm. Why did you kind of make that shift, and what like differences have you noticed with that?
Yeah, so you know, again, going back to Silly Crocodile, when I first started, it was literally just this. He was just a character, and when he started, he went. That was it. When I started understanding who Silly Crocodile really was, that's when the shift started happening. Because at first, I started realizing that Silly Crocodile was talking back to me. I would say something, and it'd be like. Yeah. Oh, interesting. He just said yeah, and then I'd ask him something else. Yeah. Ooh, listen to that. His voice got excited, and over time, he's like, yeah. Whoa, what's that laugh? And all of a sudden, this thing is coming out of me. So it was when I understood that the soul that this character had was actually a piece of my own. Is when I said, let's see where it goes. Let whatever this is, let it out. Every time I use Silly Crocodile in Unreal Engine, or even if I'm doing this just with this, like I truly don't know what he's going to say. It has gotten to that point where I don't script things. I just let them happen. I know the overarching story of what's supposed to be, and then I just go. And because of that, I feel like it's become more, not just relatable, but in general, there's this golden attraction that people feel. You know, and I can actually run it for you now if you want to see what that looks like in real time. But
I'd
really,
love to.
he just goes. Yeah, let's fire it up.
Let's fire it up.
So let's talk a situation before we get in. I'll play through it like we do it, like I do it. Okay, so what's a situation that you feel like Silly Crocodile might be dealing with that maybe he's experienced, and now he needs to talk about it?
Ooh, put it on the spot here.
Maybe you saw someone else.
What?
It's maybe something that you saw happen to someone else.
All right, let's do something. This is just relevant because it happened to my son today. So he's on the playground, and he gets picked on by 3 other kids, kind of gang up on him, try to pick on him, and he feels kind of isolated and alone because his friends from school weren't at the playground. I have a son; he's 3.5. He was there. None of his friends from school were there, and then there's other kids who I guess my wife was with him, who recognized him. One kid was a kind of troublemaker, kind of ganged up with some other kids, and so they kind of were tagging up on him. So it's a good kind of scenario that I think is relatable for kids.
Okay, let's do it. So Silly Crocodile is going to come in his Silly Crocodile world, and then we are going to make it so he tells this story, and we'll make an actual episode of Silly. Well, it won't be an actual episode of Silly Crocodile, but here we go.
We'll see how it happens in real time.
Yep. All right. Let me switch over the cameras, and we'll be good to go. I'll just leave my face here. That's fine.
Are you screen sharing, or is this?
Oh yeah. So this is happening right now.
Oh, yeah, so you can see that everything is happening. I can walk around, and I can jump, and I can just tell stories.
That's right. So the Silly Crocodile we can have these conversations back and forth. Wow. Hey, Silly Crocodile, what's going on?
Well, there was a thing that happened, and I don't know how to take it.
Oh, well, can you talk about it? What happened?
Well, I was playing outside with my friends, and then there was this little friend. I thought the friend was really nice, so I came over and I wanted to play with him. But then he just came over and then started being kind of mean to everybody.
Oh, well, how so? How was this friend being mean?
Well, when he was coming to play, he was maybe being a little bit too rough and said and did some things that just were not very nice.
Oh, well, why do you think he did that?
I don't know. Maybe he does not like me. Maybe I did something wrong.
No, Silly Crocodile, you didn't do anything wrong. The thing is, Silly Crocodile, sometimes children just do things because they don't understand certain things.
Like math? I know math.
No, it's not like math.
Or then what? I don't get it.
Well, when kids don't understand certain things, they tend to what's called project however they're feeling onto other people.
What does that mean, project? Oh, like the movies, like a projector.
Well, not quite like that, Silly Crocodile. It's more like when somebody says something to you that makes you feel bad or makes you feel like you don't feel good, then some people, they get angry and they do it to other people.
What? So if I feel not happy, then sometimes if I'm not happy, then I get really angry. Ah! And then other people might think that I'm angry at them because I'm angry at something else?
That's right. And maybe it was something that happened at home, but Silly Crocodile, it wasn't you.
Oh, it wasn't me. I thought maybe that I did something wrong.
Do you feel like you did something wrong?
No, I just wanted to come up and say hi. But then he was mean.
Well, in that situation, the best thing you can do, Silly Crocodile, is sometimes just walk away. And you can talk about it to a teacher or a grown-up.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
And then later on, Silly Crocodile, you might find that friend might actually be nice again. Because maybe they were hungry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sometimes when I get really hungry, I get crazy. Ah! I need a pickle ice cream. Somebody get me a pickle ice cream. And then I get really tired and I go to sleep.
Oh, yes, that's the thing you do. But Silly Crocodile, sometimes when people are angry, they're not angry at you. They're angry at themselves or a situation. Or sometimes they just got hungry.
Oh, yeah. Narrator, you're always so very smart. Thank you so much for sharing with me.
You're so welcome, Silly Crocodile.
Oh, and just for that, I want to do something special for you. It's a bacon party. I know how much you love bacon, Silly Crocodile. I mean, narrator. I just said myself, I do love the bacon.
Yes, you do. We both love bacon.
Yeah, okay, narrator, I'm gonna go now. Bye!
Bye, Silly Crocodile. Oh, you're so silly.
That's pretty amazing. I gotta say, one thing that you had, like I saw you mentioned recently on a post it's like this is a perfect transition to. You were talking about kind of like people using AI as a shortcut, especially with the video generator stuff, and you were kind of making this argument about how you could do that real time animation, much more personalized, get the results you're looking for versus the kind of randomness you get out of AI. And it's fascinating. Like, I saw another example recently of somebody who does real time animation using Adobe Character Creator, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy, I forgot his name now. Something like the Goblin something. He does this like radio show where it's like this 2D character, and he has it all into, he gets people call in, and he does like real time, like a talk show, but with real time animation, and it's very, very cool, the tools that allow you to do it, and like it's kind of blowing my mind. Is this like a fairly recent technology? Like, I can't imagine it's
well,
like,
funny you say that. Let's think about the history of virtual characters, and let's think back maybe the 1980s, where we got Max Headroom. What was Max Headroom? Max Headroom was a virtual character in a lot of ways. I mean, he wasn't virtual, and obviously he was Matt Brewer. I don't remember his name. Anyway, really great actor. But we've all wanted this. It's been around. I think I got sidetracked by trying to remember the guy's name, but yeah, the thing is, it's like it's not a new idea, and it's not necessarily something new. We've been doing the same thing with puppets. All I'm doing is like what Jim Henson used to do. He just used puppets and told stories with the puppets. And before Jim Henson, there was marionettes through many, many years. And of course, some people just gave personalities to sticks. I mean, they can go ball.
Right.
All of human history, there's been storytelling in many different ways. Whether you're doing it with physical objects or virtual objects, it's just that the tools have changed to allow you to tell stories in new ways.
Yeah.
I hope
No, it's
that
interesting. Yeah. It's interesting you're saying about this idea about it being like it's essentially puppetry. Like that is really what it is. I haven't thought about it that way, but it's true.
Yep.
But so in terms of this ability to do this kind of like real time animation though, like how long has that been around? Is that
real-time animation in terms of the virtual space? That was one of the last projects that Jim Henson was really starting to get into. So I really credit the Jim Henson Company for really pushing, what that means to do real-time animation. And so I think if there was a time, it would be in the late 80s, early 90s that was really starting to become a thing. But yeah, who was the first? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I think what's happened is it's becoming more accessible. It's becoming a lot faster and a lot easier for people to just learn it and to be able to move. Again, I taught myself in 2020 how to use Unreal. Like, I'd never opened up Unreal Engine until 2020. And even Blender, the 3D modeling, like I taught myself Blender in that same period of time, both Unreal and Blender at the same time. So, and I don't consider myself a genius by any means. I'm just a guy who gets really excited about learning things that are cool. And that's it, and as so long as you obsess over a thing and the reason you're doing it, you're going to learn at a good pace.
Yeah.
Just like anything else. Like you could learn to, spin a basketball on your finger. Right now, if I tried 10 times, I would not be able to do it. But if I continued, if I believed that I could do it, one day I could. But truly, I don't really care to spin a basketball on my finger. So I'm always going to be terrible.
Right.
Am I scared of it? No. Apply that same knowledge to Unreal Engine or anything else. If you want to do it, don't be scared of it. Be excited by the idea that one day you will be able to spin that basketball without even thinking.
Yeah. Huh. It's just like this conversation is kind of blowing my mind for a number of reasons. It's
good.
Yeah, no, it's I have a lot to think about now.
Yeah, that's always my goal with any conversation is to, I want you to come in. This is kind of the funny thing. I said this at Unreal Fest. I gave a talk recently in Orlando. I said I brought them in with a pipeline and I left them with a new way of life. And that's the way that I want you to look at it as a creative. It's not about like how you create, it's why you create.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're creating, whether you're putting, paint to a canvas or a pen to a paper, or you're moving a puppet around on your hand in physical space, or you do it in the virtual world.
Yeah.
It's all about why you create. It's all about storytelling. And the characters, puppets, whatever they are, they're all the same. They're just in different planes.
Right.
Think of it like that. It's
different mediums.
Different mediums. That's right.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And the same thing applies to really any art form, even cooking. You know, like music. Every art form is ultimately, it boils down to storytelling and invoking emotions. Those are kind of the two core pillars that everything else is built on top of. I'm curious to ask, like, getting, I don't know if I'd say technical, but more into the technical side of things. So let's say somebody comes to you and they say, I want to develop a show direct to YouTube for as low budget as possible. What's sort of like the approach? Because there's so many tools and technologies that are available nowadays that it's doable, obviously, but I don't know, like, what's kind of like the formula, if you will, that like you kind of apply to, you know, like, and is simpler better? Like, you know, like, let's say like I don't know, you could argue yes or no. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on those things.
Again, that is such a very wide and general question that it's impossible to give one answer to every single. Every situation requires a different treatment. Every story requires different methods of storytelling and tools. There's certain things that you can only tell in the virtual space. There's certain things that you can only, or stories you can only tell in real world. There's certain certain things that can only be done on stage. You know, there's certain things that can only be done on a big screen. It just all depends on what is the end result, why are you creating it, and who are the people you want to target. I mean, I know that's like, I know there's probably you're like, oh, what is that? There's got to be some other answer I'm looking for, but that's it. I mean, there's no one. And so the simplest that I look at is, for me, it has to be the simple. Why? Because I'm one guy. And if I'm going to try to sit here and pretend I'm Pixar, well, I'm lying to myself, because I will never be Pixar. I used to call myself, early on in my virtual production career, I'd call myself one-man Pixar, because I didn't really understand yet who I was. And once I understand, I was like, dude, I'm never going to be Pixar. What am I thinking? Like, yes, they inspired me and they were really great, but I will never be them. I'm the first and only Cory Williams to do this thing that I'm doing, and maybe some other Cory Williams, but you know, who knows? but the thing is, I have to keep it simple for me, because I am a one-man team. Now, if I had a big budget and I had some funding, like, I'd totally put more time and effort. You know, like the 80-20 rule, that, you know, 20% of the time to get 80% of the results. If you get more people in, if you got more budget, well, that 20% effort grows. You know, and your 80%, what that means, grows. Like, what's my 2080 versus 2080 that Pixar can do? You know, but what kind of stories are we telling? It just depends. There's a lot of great storytellers out there who I see have really great stuff. A good example here is another Cory, my friend Cory Strasberger. He's the guy that creates Xanadu, which is Blue. Blue is a very popular character within the Unreal Engine community, but it hasn't really broken outside of the Unreal Engine or virtual production community, I don't feel like. But you know, his level of expertise and creative ability, more so with style and what looks cool, is much higher than mine. So his 2080 is going to be much different than my 2080. Whereas I focus on speed, because my audience, like, I'm not focusing on that massive audience of just the Unreal Engine developers or virtual production specialists. I'm focusing on children, and very specifically the ADHD ones, where they're not so, like, I don't want them to be distracted, you know? So Cory and I have different views on what good is. And his stuff is amazing, and my stuff on its own is equally amazing in another spot. So,
And that's the beautiful thing about platforms like YouTube, is that there is the space for everybody to kind of come on and tell their story and find their audience. You know, it's not like you're not dealing with Cartoon Network, let's say, where it's like, okay, we have X amount of slots and there's X amount of hours in a day. We can only show one show at a time at any given time slot, and it's like, so we got to kind of catch the widest net possible. I'm very excited for what's happening and what will continue to happen, because like it just is unlocking opportunities for more people to tell their stories. So on that note, like, so this is, again, maybe it's a very broad question, but like, what makes a good story?
What makes a good story is something that comes from a real place. You know, like there's every storyteller, I don't care how hard you try, there's going to be a piece of you that comes through the story. And even if you don't realize it right away, it happens. At least to me. Maybe I should speak for myself, because I feel like literally every story I've ever told, and I've told hundreds of stories, maybe thousands at this point, but every story I've told, there's a piece of me in there somehow. And that's what makes it good. That's what makes it relatable. You know, a good example here actually was what I just did, that improv thing with Silly Crocodile. Like, that's your story, right? But it was also mine. When I was thinking of that, when I was creating that just now, I was thinking about your situation, your son's situation, but applying it to how I felt about that. Mine specifically was actually going back to my days when I was a video blogger. I used to vlog and show my life and do all this stuff. And I was going through a weird transition. So it was me just documenting my life, essentially. But in that time, I had people who used to say really nasty things, really mean things, and would just be really mean to me. And it hurt. It hurt me a lot. And I thought, okay, well, why are they doing this? Like, why are they so angry at me? They don't know who I am. They don't understand all of the things that happened outside of the camera. For all they know, I don't drink water, you know, because they never see me drink water. Oh,
Right.
You've been seeing me drink water. I drink a lot of water. Anyway, I do all day. Anyway, so, but the thing was, I started to understand, I'm like, they don't hate me. They hate themselves at me. And so that story that I did with Silly Crocodile just there was just that. I was using that and turning it into something that I relate to and then bringing it back out. So I can take any story and find my own relation and tell my own story. So while I didn't necessarily exactly tell your son's story, I told something that was real here. So that's where great storytelling comes from, is just finding a way to make it real in that sense, in one way or another. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody recently, and he had said something. He told me a story that he, I don't remember all the people who involved, but essentially talking about Pixar, that somebody, you know, an executive at Pixar walks into the room and starts like scribbling, you know, kind of a storyboard, and very rough, not the best sketches you'll see. And somebody asks him, like, what does it take to like, how does one get to your position? And his answer was something to the effect of, have a point of view. Like, that's really what it boils down to. Like, you need to have a point of view and share that. Like, that's what it all kind of, and so you're saying, like, relate it to yourself and bring something out from your own personal experiences. And that's what storytelling is, right? Storytelling is the whole purpose. I mean, storytelling has been around literally since as long as we've been around, you know, and the purpose of storytelling is to teach values and ideas that are kind of too big to give over in, you know, conversation. And so you have to have that suspension of disbelief where you kind of leave the confines of, you know, the physics that you're kind of used to in everyday life, and allow yourself to kind of exist in a more open state of mind. And once you're in that more open state of mind, you're receptive to lessons and other things that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily be open to, you know. And so, it's a beautiful thing. Like, it's also important too to understand methods of storytelling. Like, understanding how you feel and all of that stuff is great, and applying it, but also understanding like the best formulas as well for storytelling. Like, I use the clock as a formula for storytelling. So, like, you know, let's say this is a clock. I got this from Dan Harmon, co-creator of Rick and Morty. So we call this a story circle. So you start out at 12 o'clock, you've got your character. Your character is living and doing all the things your character normally does. And then we start moving over to, you know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and your character has discovered something. It's a want. What is that? I've discovered this. I need this thing. I should go. And so they go, and then they actively search for that thing, and they find the thing. I've gotten what I want. We're at 6 o'clock now. That's what I'm pointing down. Okay, I've got that thing, but something has changed because they have gotten that. Something inside them, something bad, something, who knows, but something has changed. So now we start moving through trying to battle or understand what that change was because of the thing that we have obtained. And then we move to 9 o'clock. And 9 o'clock now we're fighting the battle, the monster, the thing, whatever it was, the cause of all of the issues, whether good, bad, whatever it is. And now we need to get through that process, and it's often very hard. And then once we get through that 9 o'clock and we get back up here,
We have defeated it. We have understood ourselves. We have made the journey back home. We've returned to where we were, but now completely changed. Something about us has changed from this journey that we've been on. So understanding that change leads you into the next episode or into the next problem. So like story circles like that are really good to learn very much about, especially when you're getting into this stuff too. For me, I think it's just built in now because I feel it. Like I don't have to think so much. But sometimes I'll look back and I'll question, okay, then what? And then this happens, and then because that happened, and I ask myself those questions.
Right. What's they say there's like a thing like you're saying the it's not then because, but it's something to that effect.
That would be that's probably the Trey Parker, Matt Stone method.
Yeah.
So what theirs is like, then this happens because, and then right. Because, like that's what they ask themselves a lot, and that's what I think theirs is like. They hate Family Guy because there's no because. It's always just like, it's like cheap storytelling, but it's like effective is effective. It doesn't matter in the end.
Right. Right. It gets back to what we were saying before. Like, what is the why behind the story you're telling?
Yep.
Like that also kind of, and that will determine the type of stories that you choose to tell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In your opinion, what are some like the hard truths, if you will, of the entertainment industry? Using that term very loosely, but content creation, whatever term you want to use, but kind of being a creative. And it looks from the outside very glamorous, and a lot of people aspire to be it. But in your experience, like what are some of the hard truths that you have to kind of come to terms with when you kind of go on that journey?
You will burn out. Burnout comes no matter how good you are, no matter how much you love what it is that you do. And I talked earlier about like, I do what I love and I only do what I love. But the thing is, everyone changes. It's like that 7-year itch. And I've seen this with so many creators. I mean, there's not a single creator that I can think of. And I know a lot of huge creators. There's not a single creator out there who hasn't gone through burnout in one way or another. And you may have never known it. You may think, oh, they've always been just so funny and so great. But no. It's hard because as a person, we change inside. We as human beings have different interests. Things turn into family stuff. I'm in this phase of life now where I'm starting to dig deeper into who I am and why I am and all this stuff. And that's why I'm this way. I wasn't always this way. This is a very recent development, really, for the last like several years. But when you go through those human cycles, you experience burnout because when you don't know where you're supposed to go or why you're supposed to be there, it's because you have this internal struggle. And so that's really hard for creators. And getting older. That is why I'm doing this virtual stuff now, because I'm getting older, dude. I dye my hair, to be honest. I look at myself in the mirror and I go, man, I'm aging. I see the wrinkles when I do this, and I know that it's not going to get any easier as an older person to reach the audiences that I used to a long time ago when I was in my 20s, So letting go of certain things is hard. But being excited for what I'm going to grab next is what I have to look forward to, that I have to remind myself to do. So there's that. And there's also it is a struggle in the beginning to not only understand who you are and what it is that you want to do. It's hard. It's not easy. But it's also hard monetarily because that takes a risk, a gamble, unless you have like somebody else's money. But even then, if you've got somebody else's money, well, now you're worried about them. Now you're worried, right. Oh, how long is this going to last until this XYZ happens? So those are hard. But the thing is if it was easy, everyone would do it. And right now, everyone thinks they're doing it. Everyone thinks they're doing this, just like everyone thought when they had a cell phone in their pocket with a camera in it, they were a photographer. And to some extent, they are. We all have those things. We all love to tell stories. Even the dullest person has stories to tell. But when you become a full-time creator, these are the things that you deal with. And also there's, here's a really deep one that no one ever talks about. The struggle that you start to feel when you hit it big. When millions of people know your name, and when you go to airports and you get stopped a lot, like at one point in my career, I couldn't go out. Like I would go out and I would get stopped all the time, and it was crazy. Mostly by, I was in my 20s, whatever, was younger. Not so much now. I still do now. It's different now. But there's this level of always having to stand up straighter, be that smile that people recognize, and always keep that positive energy up for those people, because you do love them, and you do love the attention, but also for your business you've got to keep it going, and it's hard. It's so hard. Like celebrities go through this on a whole other level. This is why they get paid what they do. It's not because they're doing these big movies. It's because of everything else they have to deal with outside of that movie. That's the hard stuff. Look at Jim Carrey. I love the guy to death. I had the privilege to meet him one time, and I just loved him. And I look at him today, and he's on this level of hardcore depression and understanding self, but also being kind of lost in who he is. And it's still, you can see it, and he can say everything he wants to say, but you can see it. But that guy, he got paid, but that's not important to him.
Right.
But that struggle, that when you hit that level of fame, like I can't say I was Jim Carrey famous, not even saying that. I'm saying as a content creator, when you start to build that, you start to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the point about burnout. So in your experience, like how do you kind of navigate burnout and get through it, get over it, whatever term you want to use?
I take a break. I have allowed myself to say my life is more important. My well-being, my mental, all that is more important than my work. It wasn't like that forever. This is also why I will never be massive. I will never be like the biggest YouTuber, not even close these days, but I will never be to that scale, because that isn't as important to me as my own well-being. My work only matters if it matters to me. My work only works as if I am working the right way in here. If I start doing it for the wrong reasons, then my work is going to start doing the wrong things. And you've got to take those breaks. You've got to allow yourself. And that's where like having a team would be really nice. I mean, I admittedly, I work on my own. It is all on my shoulders. I have my wife help me out every now and then. She just listens. She just hears me talk every night about how I feel. I mean, that's the thing. But yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you kind of come to these like, I don't want to say insights, because that's too loose. How did you come to these like understandings of kind of really kind of getting your finger on the pulse of internally as well as the environment around you? Because that's not something that happens naturally, obviously. It does require work, and it's something that's important, I think, for creatives, because I've spoken with people and I'm friends with people kind of on both ends of the spectrum of, for the people who literally don't know how to take a break to people who don't know how to get themselves going, and kind of everything in between. And so the way you approach creativity, and again, using the term very loosely, content creation, in this kind of very holistic, healthy approach, how did you develop and nurture that sort of attitude?
Through the crashes in my life that I experienced, through the loss of friends, both, just faded away, and unfortunate situations that happened, and also just as I got older, I start to realize in myself, and I think again I'm in this phase of my life where I'm looking deeper into me, and also my kids. My big change also comes from my kids. I want to be the best father that I can possibly be, because they deserve it. They deserve every bit. I want to give them the best childhood, and so that requires me to do the work. That requires me not only to do the work to be a better dad, but just to be a better person. And that tells me that I have to dig deeper to understand who I am, so they don't have to do the work. Like you as a parent, if you don't get fixed, if the problems that are inside of you don't get fixed, you can easily pass them on to your children.
Right.
So I'm kind of going through this process, and I'm allowing my creativity and my storytelling to drive this. I realistically, I should be going to an actual therapist, but that's not my wife. But one day I will. But yeah, that's all this is, and also like I'm kind of like, I've seen a lot of creators go through crashes, and knowing them personally actually allowed me sort of a front seat and a shoulder to cry on, to be able to hear their stories, to learn from them as well. I mean, not that I'm there. That's not why I was there, to learn what they did, but it absolutely helped me by helping them, and being there for those people. So being a part of the community that we have, the creative community, I'm not just saying content creators or anything like that. It's like when you open yourself up to other people and support them, oftentimes they will share with you their struggles and learn from them. Those struggles, the reason they're sharing those with you is not just to get it off their chest, but because they want to help you not struggle with that either. Just in the same way that I want to help children struggle, or not struggle the same ways that I did as a child.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's time and doing it.
Yeah. So do you feel that any of your creating and the things that you make, do you feel, or do you actively try to make things for your kids specifically, or is it all you're making it more for yourself in the sense of what we talked about earlier, and it's kind of, in doing that, it allows you to then be that better father for your kids?
My kids come before the world. The time that I spend with my kids comes before the world, and I think that will show through as still a very good thing. I mean, I'm not just like, hey, this is only for my daughter, or this is only for my son. It's more than anything, for me, content creation, I'll call it that, storytelling with Silly Crocodile is for all of us, but me first. It is me first. It is me. Is my, now it's more so my therapy, as what's become. But I think about this way. Here's a mind shift, right? If Silly Crocodile is the child version of myself, and my children who play the other characters in the series, they're in there too. We are best friends. So my childhood self gets to be best friends with my own children.
Yeah.
That is something you can't experience any other way. So it's like we are sharing this honest family fun with the world, and just doing that. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most special things about the series, is that, other than the therapy side of things. Like, this is a true story. Somebody offered me $5 million to purchase a Silly Crocodile IP, but then they were going to mix in their own thing, and I don't want to go into details because it's not fair for them. But the reason that I turned it down was for this very thing, is the fact that I have this opportunity to tell stories that matter to me, but also to tell stories that my children can be a part of as well, which matter to them.
Yeah.
And that connection is amazing. And one day, Silly Crocodile, I'm not going to be the creator of them anymore. I mean, I'm always going to be the one who created Silly Crocodile, but there is going to come one day, I'm sure, that I'll probably have to let it go to someone else, to a company who's got all the money in the world, and they're going to take Silly Crocodile to places that I could never have dreamed of. But I can't do that until Silly Crocodile knows who he is and has understood who he is, just like a child. So in this way, I am raising myself as a child. And when that child grows up, and when my own children have grown up and they have moved on, then I can allow Silly Crocodile to move on and, in a way, move out of the house.
Yeah.
And then I can tell new stories. And my kids, when they come back for Thanksgiving and we sit down at the table and we see on TV or wherever it is, Silly Crocodile's doing crazy or whatever, we can say, look what we did.
Yeah.
Look how awesome. Yeah. That's our family's love and impact on the world that you can't get any other way.
Yeah. That's a beautiful, beautiful kind of outlook. There's one of my first episodes I recorded was with this guy in the UK, and he's a sculptor. I love his work. His stuff is really incredible. He does these like fiberglass sculptures. So these like kind of huge, life-size plus sculptures, and he's talking about kind of in the same vein where he has 4 kids and they've all kind of been a part of the studio and like have helped him with sculpting and sanding and painting and cleaning and and it's like he's talking about how to say fulfilling is such a is selling it so short.
Yeah.
Like it's being creative and doing creative things is the most human thing that we can do. It's really what sets us apart from anything else in the animal kingdom. And to be able to be creative and to have that kind of creative expression and to be able to bring your kids, which is like the ultimate form of creative expression, and have them and like build something together is like the most, again, fulfilling is selling it is like such a understatement. Like it's the most
You're living.
Incredible experience.
It's a shared life experience in a virtual space where there are no limits, where you can tell stories that just make your heart sing. Like, I mean, let's think about this on an even deeper level here. All I'm doing is playing with my kids. That's it. It's like playing with toys, or it's like going outside and playing baseball and pretending we're in the major leagues. It's pretending you're all the things parents do, or hopefully do with their kids. I'm just doing it in a virtual space in front of an audience of millions of people. Yeah.
It's inspiring and beautiful and just it's really. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
So this month they just turned 7 and 9.
Oh wow!
So they're right at the top of my demographic. I'm so sad, man. I'm so sad because they're right there, and I know that I only have a few more years until they're really out of the demographic, And it's sad because it's now Silly Crocodile is really starting to take off, and I've got some really big announcements coming up very soon in the future, and this holiday season is going to be incredible. But still, it's knowing where it came from and why it exists is the most important. Like before YouTube, Silly Crocodile, all I did was I was playing with this crocodile with my daughter in her room behind one of her toys. Like I'd hide it in the windows, and then she'd be like, "There's that crocodile," and then there it is, and then I would hide it all over her room, and she loved playing that game. And I thought, oh, that's so fun. What if I did that with kids on the internet? And then that's where Silly Crocodile came from. Yeah, was just that.
Yeah. And it's not even a question. It's more of a statement, because I'm sure I know the answer already. But it's like it sounds like even if there was no audience, you'd still be doing this.
Oh yeah. No, this is different. This is not like even if we had nothing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I do that, again, going back to the ladder to space, I didn't really have an audience, but it didn't matter because I did it. Like I enjoyed it, and that was just so much fun. And I just, sometimes it is good to just do it for you. Yeah. Because I can enjoy things. My favorite videos, the best things I've ever done on YouTube or in anything, I feel like are the things that no one has ever really seen. My favorite songs, my favorite things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On that point, I'm kind of curious to hear, especially somebody who has kind of the experience with YouTube, because it's kind of like the going theory or whatever that like, you have to kind of create with the audience in mind first, as you're creating for them, versus creating for yourself. But you're almost taking the opposite approach. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't know if like one is right and one is wrong, but like, do you feel that one is more correct over the other, or it's kind of to each their own?
This is I teach a lot of creators this, and actually a lot of really big creators today. These are things that I taught them, and so that they could understand this, to grow way bigger than I ever did. But what it is it's you're not creating for the audience. You're creating for yourself, but you're understanding what this thing is that you're creating for, and you're using the little relations that relate. So, okay, let's see if I can describe this. Growing up, you have inspirations. For me, it was like Weird Al Yankovic. Here's his color. Put it in here like Play-Doh. Here's Jim Carrey. Put it in there like Play-Doh. Here's Inspector Gadget and all he was. Put that in Play-Doh. Mr. Rogers. All these people, all these things in my life. After a while, and I start going like this, I understand, okay, look at all these different colors that have morphed into this color that isn't like anyone else's color out there, but still shares similarities. Interesting. That's who you are. That's who you become. Those inspirations and your life experiences as well they add shades of black and shades of light and all, all that. And that's who you become. Once you understand that, you go, okay, what are the things that I want to create and how can I relate to them? Okay, I like the way Jim Carrey was. I'm going to allow the little bits of my pieces of myself to act a little bit like Jim Carrey. I'm going to do music and I'm going to allow myself to be a little bit like Weird Al. And I'm going to do that. And then as you do that, you go, oh, well, look at this. There's people that are just like me that love those two things, but maybe they don't like the wrestling. Maybe they don't like, Nolan Ryan's best baseball pitches, things that I like. And so like, you have to understand that there's always going to be connections with good and others that are not going to connect. But the big thing here is there is a connection between those two actors that goes in like a triangle. And it's weird. I just imagine myself like an anchor to all these thread points. And then all those other anchors all around are connected to each other as well. And so I'm not creating for the audience. I'm creating for what makes me special because that is the anchor for all of those different things. So I'm essentially creating for the audience based on those things. Now let's think about this. It's not about creating 100% for yourself. So, okay, let's get rid of the Nolan Ryan pitches, right? We don't need that color in my thing. It's still who I am. It's just back here. I don't need to show that. Let's also get rid of the wrestling part of me. That's another part of life story for me. Let's put it back here as well. And let's just focus on these things right here that seem to connect it with the audience. So you're really just sharing those pieces of yourself that the audience does relate to, but you're still creating for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So that's how it is. So they're both technically right answers. It's just about how you look at it to understand what that really means.
Yeah. It's an interesting perspective to take, because I think, like, for myself, like you hear this thing and you think, okay, like I have to kind of put myself aside and create what my audience wants to see, and that's not even like with this podcast. That's not the case. Like this podcast is very much, there is definitely an aspect of like doing it for the community and the people. But there's also the aspect of doing it for myself, like, because I enjoy having these conversations. I enjoy meeting these people. Like there's that's a big part of it as well. But with more creative things, with more, with my 3D work and stuff of that nature, where it's almost like, okay, what do people want to see? Right? What will resonate with my audience? And that always like that never sat with me, right? I was like, because I don't know, like, yeah, you obviously don't want to. I don't know, like. I want to make the things that I want to make. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I want to try things and I want to experiment and I want to play with the toys that excite me. I want to experiment. I want to try things. I've always been interested. I love animatronics. So, like, I want to teach myself animatronics. I love, that's very much been my North Star throughout my life and creative career or whatever. But it's almost like discouraged by the quote unquote YouTube gurus, let's just say, where it's like, no, you have to kind of create with the audience in mind first. And maybe that will get you more views and more, revenue, etc. But that will also lead to that kind of burnout that you're talking about a lot faster, because it's not coming from a place of whatever it is that lights you up inside. If it's not coming from there, you're draining the tank instead of filling it.
Exactly. Like you have to look at it this way. Just like the old gunslinger, you is who you is, but if you is who you ain't who you is. If you're going to create stuff based on what other people want, then why aren't you just going and getting a regular job with another studio and telling someone else's story? Because you might as well be. Sure, you have more control over the thing, and maybe you'll make some money doing all that stuff, but you can't buy that time back. If you're a true creative, that's time that you're not really giving to yourself. And look, if I wanted to be super rich right now, I could just go back to my cat channel that I had. I have a YouTube channel that I haven't touched in a long time because I was like, I'm done. That's it. It was called The Mean Kitty. It's about my cat Sparta. Man, every video I got, it's crazy. It was how big that channel was. I've got like one video. It's like 176 million views on it. Just one
Wow.
video. But anyway, the thing was like, I was making so much money on that channel. It was ridiculous. But when he passed, I said, I'm done. I'm not going to come back to that, because that's not what my life is about. If I sat there and just did that, I would be unhappy. I would be living in this like weird lie of my own existence, and I would lose all of this time now to tell these stories that I'm telling. Think about it like this: if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you change about your life? How much does that matter? Like for me, I wouldn't change a single thing, man. If I won the lottery tomorrow, like I would still just do this. I don't want anything. The amount of money that I would pay if I was working a regular job just to do what I do in a day, I would be like, hey, you know what? I want to take a pay cut today just so I can go home and create.
Yeah.
Man, I would pay to do what it is that I'm doing today. So, switch from, oh, I want to be the biggest creator in the world and make $1 million to, I want to be able to tell the stories that I feel like I'm born to do and create. Like, do your life's purpose. You do it for other people. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah, you're right. You will get views. I mean, those other creators are absolutely right. But you need to ask yourself, why do those other creators think that? How long have those other creators really been in this? How much do they really know? And have they been through the crashes themselves? And when they have success, here, don't get me started. Actually, no, get me started on this. Here we go. The majority of the gurus that I've seen out there are ones who have helped other people be successful with their stuff. But they themselves as gurus have done nothing but copied what those other people have done. But their originality in their own work suffers. And I've seen it. And their success isn't really truly theirs. And at the end of the day, they go, I just need to do something right now that gets views. I don't care what it is. I just need to maintain it. And then what happens? They fall into that unhealthy lifestyle of just trying to keep things going because it's in their business to get a lot of views. So they're going to do everything they can, including stepping on toes. And I'm not, again, this is not all gurus. I should clarify. But I will say that even as somebody, I consider myself a guru in this, but in my own sense, I'm gurus. I'm highly experienced. I know what I'm doing. And I do like mentor people from time to time. But I have so many people who reach out to me right now on LinkedIn and all different places who don't know my experience or background. And they tell me these things. I know how to blow up your channel and do this, that. And they'll look at one of my channels that don't have big views. And then I'll ask them, how? What would you do? And they would tell me the most generic thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, that's not going to do it. You don't know where you're coming from right now. Like, you're lost. You're taking this formula from somewhere else that doesn't apply because you don't understand the deeper reasons. But again, this is why I say, Daryl Eves would be the closest person that I can say that has it right. It's the closest thing. The only thing he's missing is the deeper why that I feel like I'm doing my best to share with people. I'm not an SEO guy. I mean, I know SEOs. I know all that stuff, but I'm not going to share that with you because there's enough information out there.
Yeah. Wow. One last question. We've touched upon it a lot already, but I pose this question to all my guests, so I'll pose it to you. And that is, how do you define success?
My definition of success is being able to wake up every day being excited for whatever it is I'm going to do. That's success. If I can wake up in the morning and be excited about life and go to bed going, cool, I did that. That's it. It's not about what's in the future or what I've done in the past. It's about now. The future is just our imagination. It's all, we just imagine what could be. It's not real. It'll never be real. The past is all perception. It's all how we've seen it, on how we figure out, okay, I did that thing, then how did this, whatever, like that's all perception, but it's not real. Future, past, not real. All mental. Now is always the moment to be happy for. Now is always the time to be grateful for everything that has happened and that may happen. And so waking up every day and feeling that gratitude for now, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This is incredible. I really can't thank you enough. And your insights and everything was just really blew me away.
And thanks for allowing me to share this with you
Yeah.
and with everyone else.
Yeah, and where can everybody find you online? All the places.
Oh man, if you search my name, you're going to find a million things. I've done a million things. I'm a bit of a yes man. No, you can find me on, I think LinkedIn is probably going to be the best place for your audience, I would assume. So yeah, you can go to LinkedIn. Creator Cory Williams, I think, is my name. But yeah, just type Cory Williams, you'll find me.
And Silly Crocodile, of course, and
on YouTube.
all the other.
If you got little ones, or if you're just like somebody who likes cartoons, definitely go check it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.